Great. So, Sajith and I, we were in the same room for a year, for almost close to a year in the first year. And I'd often hear Sajith say some pretty ridiculous things. And in my mind, think, ये तो क्या बात कर रहा है ये? Next thing, it has happened. Things like, that there was this one silly anthem, Om Salam Pampage, Sol Paga. Remember, Sajith?
Yes, first year.
First year, founding anthem. He said that one day and said, this is going to be the anthem. And I was like, what the hell? It doesn't mean anything. But it happened. And I've seen this thing sort of happen at so many times, even in my life, that we have an idea and we have a visualization, and boom, it's there. And I think that Sajith has probably got. I mean, both me and Gitanjali, we did this workshop with Sajith, and we kind of understood how this thing really works. And sometimes you do things without knowing how they work, and you cannot repeat it again. But something, if you know the mechanics of, you can actually use it to great power and advantage. So Gitanjali had done this workshop during PDF, and I did this workshop in the ADI event. And it's the power of visualizing. You kind of tell the universe that this is what I want to be, or this is what I will be. And slowly, everything you do kind of work towards that. It's kind of like a hocus pocus magic kind of a thing, but it does work. So there's an incredible power in visualizing and just saying that this is what I'll be, this is what I want to do. And all of us would have experienced at some time or the other that it actually happens. Now, the thing is, it's not a random science. It's actually a pretty precise science, and there's a way to go about it. And the workshop that Sajith did was pretty amazing because it kind of guided through the process. It made us say things, kind of make a commitment to ourselves, and make those commitments come real. I've been doing it in strange, ways, not methodically, but just saying that, oh, I want to have a great factory. And then repeating it again and again and again till I do get a great factory. So, there are many tools that Sajith in his workshop will share with all of us on how to make it happen. And it's not just for us. It is something you might wish for the world, or something you might wish for our community. We all wish that this Corona thing goes away. So, but how do we make it work? How do we make this wish, this idea, how do we visualize it to make it come alive? So, Sajith, I personally, had a lot of, I gained a lot from that workshop, and I randomly said that I want to be the Minister of Crafts. And suddenly, I'm now making a proposal to Gadkari. It's kind of very spooky. And how this thing really happened, I didn't even try for it, to be honest, but it's kind of happening. So, with this, I just lead you on to Sajith and say that there's immense power in this. What's important is to know what you wish for. Let's not shortcut ourselves. We are all incredible, huge human beings with huge power. So I think in this one workshop, Sajith, while you walk people through it, I'd also walk from the other side and say that, the world is not large enough for our ambitions. Our ambitions are larger, our hopes are larger, our aspirations are larger. So in this workshops, just go all out, be ridiculous, do things that you tell yourself that you cannot do. Just say it, just try it out. With this, Sajith, I lead you on to introduce the workshop for yourself as to what you'll be doing, and guide people through. I know you yourself are a living example of your visualization board, and that muscular guy on the bottom right hand side, that's you. Very much you. So it'd be great if you can share the visualization board ahead of the talk. Yeah, so great. Thank you so much, Sajith. I really appreciate your taking the time out for all of us.
Thank you. Thanks, Ayush. So thanks a lot for all of you turning up. This full build-up of Ayush has made me now even more nervous, Ayush. So I'm going to share screen, and we have a lot of people who are curious what the hell is going to happen today. Some of you have just come in with full confidence. So I hope the screen can be seen. In between, when I'm going to paste the link, I'll be getting off the screen. So I'll take you through it. So today is really about, the gist of it is to guide and help and explain the science behind how do you create a vision for the next 5 years. And a lot of reactions come. How do you plan it? Why should I plan it? I can't think beyond tomorrow. I've got stress now. What's happening with Corona? A lot of people ask, how do you factor all these things in? So what I've done is, I mean, it's been almost 10 years of researching on how do you simplify the science of visualizing. And a lot of books you hear which talk of this, like The Secret and stuff. But what I've realized is if you just make a vision board or you make a vision or you know what you want, it doesn't happen. Until you break it down into clear-cut goals, it's just going to stay as it. It doesn't matter if you're a student, if you're starting up, if you've 20 years in business, whichever stage you are in, the same logic and science works. I'm just going to break down in the most simplest way what the science is. So I'm going to give a little bit of gyan before. So all those who are not used to seeing me without cracking jokes, for 90 minutes, I'm going to try and control myself. So this is a beautiful quote, which I think one of the most simplest thing to visualize, I mean, to explain what visualization is by Buddha, which is we are what we think. So everything we tell ourselves, what we believe in, if we feel we are capable of doing things, we are. If you think we are not, we are not. It's as the whole philosophy is in this one sentence. And most of us are grown up with some kind of self-talk or the other, which holds us back. So part of today is also to try and, while doing it, I'm going to also apply some NLP techniques to try and guide us, each of us, out of this whole thing of how we sell ourselves short. So it'll also be part of the process. And one of the key things at whichever stage, I mean, in the room right now, we have so many of us, there are 50 people in the room, and we're all in different scales and stages of our business. Some of us are not in business, some of us are working somewhere, but we all have a clear idea or a thought of what we're capable of. And I think it starts there. Even when we are creating, when we get to the vision part, it's important that you look at yourself and see what you're thinking about yourself. And is usually the biggest enemy which we have is ourselves, is what we tell ourselves we're capable of. So I'm going to do one quick exercise. Even though it's Zoom, I'm going to ask you guys to stand up if you don't mind. So a quick one, and I'm going to guide you to do something. All the lazy ones like Yankee, please make the effort and stand up. So I can see, Yankee's like, I don't want to stand up. So just stand up, and I'm also going to explain something to you. So if you can see me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you is if you take your hand, hold it up in front, and try to move it as far as you can back. And just mark that spot. Just take a look in your mind and mark that spot. Now bring your hand back and put it down. Now, what I want you guys to do is, now when I say people make this mistake, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and don't lift your hand. I'm going to ask you to imagine what I tell you. So all of you close your eyes. Now, don't lift your hand. Imagine you've lifted your hand. And as I'm telling you, imagine your hand is moving back. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Imagine it, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. You can still go. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10. You're still stretching. 11, 12, all the way to 1 o'clock. Imagine you really stretched all the way. Hold that spot. Now bring your hand back in your mind. Open your eyes again. Now take your hand and move it back. Now, did you see, in a very interesting manner, you almost moved 20 to 30%. I can see the people I can see on the screen. Sit back again. But from what you did first, just by telling you to think about it, you moved your hand almost 30% more than the first time. And it's just a simple, very simple way to explain the power of visualization in something as simple as just moving your hand, that what it can do for you. Now, if you percolate this down and you start to see how the same impact, how it can be taken into multiple places. Now, the key question is, in everything we do, there is, I'm going to constantly talk about this thing called self-talk. There's always that question that you believe you can. When somebody asks you, what do you want? There's that question, there's a thought which says that, yeah, not me, I don't know. Some people are thinking about starting business, or you're thinking about losing weight. I've heard people say, I'm a foodie, or I can't get the discipline you have, or I've got genetics which will make me put on weight, or I'm not from a business family. There are a lot of these things where you tell yourself things. So if I just break it down into why do we need visualization? Why do we need goals? So I want to give you one little story. scientific research. A bunch of scientists went to Harvard in 1979. And this you expect to be Harvard, some of the most sorted guys who know exactly what they want. So they walked into this class and they took the class and they spoke to each of the members and asked, how many of you have your goals sorted? You know what you want. And this data was quite interesting. Within Harvard itself, 84% of the class, they just had focus to come to Harvard. They were going day by day. They will look at either campus recruitment or something will happen. 84% had no goals. 13% of the class, they had goals, but they hadn't written it down. Only 3% of the class had very clear written down goals and very concrete plans how to achieve it. So within Harvard, it is a small 3%. So if you imagine, you take it out to the world, it's even smaller. There's a very small 0.005% who would sit down and write their goals and have concrete plans. Some of us know in our mind, if you ask this room also, you'd have a bunch of you who started business or at different stages of your career, but come to a let's go month by month. Even more so during this Corona time, it's about how do you sustain, how do you make sure the bills are paid and salaries are paid and, forget the future. But now what's interesting about the research is this same team went back 10 years and met the same bunch of people, and the data is very interesting. So the people who didn't set goals, what they were earning, to the people who knew their goals but didn't write, they were earning double. And the people who had very, very clear goals, concrete goals, were earning 10 times. And this same research was conducted in different places, different campuses, and it's almost exactly the same. So the 10x factor just led from goal setting. And you will find you go for different books you pick up on business, on growth, you go for management workshop, everybody talks about having goals. Now the key thing is, first, the aspect that you guys are in this class, and at the end of it, we will make sure you have very, very clear goals. You're already moving to that 3% in the Harvard class, which will have a 10x factor. So if nothing else, at the end of the class, you're going to have goals which are going to be a multiplication factor, if nothing else. So I want to define for you what a goal is, because everybody has a different aspect of what a goal is. For example, Yankee thinks it's what people shoot into during football. So if you define a goal is the ongoing pursuit of a worthy objective until accomplished. So this is the best definition. Now I'm going to break down this definition for you in context of what we're going to do. So ongoing means it's a process. It doesn't stop. You're constantly in a process, you're fine-tuning, you're calibrating. The pursuit aspect comes from it's a chase. You're moving behind something to achieve it, of a worthy objective, which means there is a reward at the end of it. It's a if and then discussion. If I do this, then I get this. And the last part, which is very important, is until accomplished. So whatever it takes. Many of us have goals. We try. Classic example I'm going to take again is weight loss. You take the effort. Some of us will take a gym membership on Jan 1st, go for a few days, and then something happens. There's a party, there's a late night, and then we cancel the thing. And then, so whatever it takes means I am committed to it. So the best definition of a goal is this: ongoing pursuit of a worthy objective until accomplished. Now there are hundreds of books on goals. There are so many of them. Some of them make it complicated. Some of them talk about something else. So what I've done is, I think the last 10 years, read every single book, watched every single video. And what we're doing now is the most simplest and most effective nugget from everything which is out there. So it's sort of simplified. And for today's thing, we've also made it's done into a Google Doc form. So you can create it, mail it, it comes back to yourself, and you can keep going back and fine tuning it. And then you have a PDF to print out. So it's going to be even more simplified than writing it out. So this is the, the goal setting on steroids. So let's go about setting your goals. Now, I'm just going to give a few instructions. All of you have invested this time, you've come here. I would request the next 90 minutes, assume that it's going to change your life, and stay completely focused. Forget your phone, forget whatever you can, because who knows what can happen in the next 90 minutes. So one appeal is give it everything in the next 90 minutes, because when you do the exercises, if you say that and I will do the basic and I'll come back to it, even that is a subconscious speaking to procrastinate. So give it all. The second thing is, all of us have a subconscious mind. So what you're going to do today is, I'm going to be trying to trick your subconscious mind. So how I'm going to do this is, I'm going to push you through a crazy pace while we're doing this. When you stop to think, there is that subconscious which takes over, says, "Yeah, nahi ho payega. Not you, man. No, it's not. Tumhare bas ki baat nahi hai." So when you do this fast, and some of you will say, "I take it slower." This, I'm not going to take it slow. I'm going to push you guys. It's tried and tested, the time and pace which is there, but keep up with it. Type as fast as you can and switch off that. There's a second part of your mind which speaks. So when you're typing, let the fingers go with the first gut feel thought which comes. That subconscious voice which keeps saying it's too big for you. Don't think. Just for the next 90 minutes, switch that off. Give that guy a break or that girl a break. Let's just completely focus. The other aspect is you've got to think as big as you can. Again, the subconscious will say how, not possible, but humor yourself, humor me. Think big with nothing stopping you. People have done amazing things in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years is a crazy amount. WhatsApp was built and sold and they made billions in that time. So think as big as you can in the whole process. Imagine that it's a genie for the next 90 minutes. So it's not a logical sequence. If a genie asks you, what do you want? You won't think, let me see, can I do it? Do I deserve it? Imagine genie. That's the best picture which should come into your mind. Next 90 minutes is genie time. It's not logic time. So these are just the precursors and build up and stuff before that. So we're going to get to work. So what I'm going to do is, if you can all check out the chat. So we'll just take a few minutes. So we're all on the same page there. And I'm going to stop share for a second so I can get back to this. So there's a link which will come. When you click onto it, don't start filling up. We will do this together. Don't jump to the next page. Don't go through this. Just click on it and see if it pops up on your screen. So bear with me. Don't attempt it yet. And it's super simple. Are we good, guys? You can see the screen now?
Yeah.
You all logged in, right? So the first thing is, I'm going to explain the science. You can type in your email and stuff. But before you start any vision, this thing, it's very important. I think a lot of people, when they make vision boards, they forget what they've accomplished or where they are today. And to know where you want to go, when you set a GPS, you start from a start point, and then you've got to put the second point where you want to reach. So we're going to first look at the gap. The gap is where you are and where you want to go. Only then you can set your vision. So the first part, it's important that also when you make vision boards or when you get into visualizing, that you don't think only about your career, money. It's very, very critical, because people who succeed also feel extremely hollow because they've been driven only with money, or they forget a lot of other things. Either they are not healthy, or they don't have for relationships, or not spend time. So we're going to try and make sure your vision is very, very balanced. So there's something called a wheel of life. So the wheel of life basically looks like this. There's an exercise you can do, but I've simplified it in this case. So we're going to look at all these quadrants. So when you look at the form now there is no right answer for the number. So you look at your wealth, there is a place in the form I've corrected it. It's not 0. Everything else is 1 to 10. There's a 0 showing on my slide, which I apologize for profusely. So 1 being rock bottom, 10 being a perfect place. So first is your wealth. So you are putting a score for where you are now. There's no right or wrong. Gut feel, something will come up. 10 being, I have more than I ever want. It's my perfect space. So put scores quickly for these. So first one is your wealth, which is your money, investments, what you got. You have debt, credit card, whatever the thing is, you put a score. You may be 3 on 10, 4 on 10, as close to this. And again, there's no right or wrong. Some of us may feel, I don't care about money. I'm looking at a different thing. So your 10 may be just 0 debt. Somebody's 10 maybe I want $1 billion. So everybody's 10 will be different. So based on your own parameter, put a score for where you are now. Second is career. Career will be combination of awards, the number of offices you have, the number of people you have, what you want to do, if it's a job, the position you want to reach, where do you see retiring being number 10. Health and fitness. These are all quick, one click you should do. Health and fitness also is extremely unhealthy, is having all the things, cholesterol high, this high, your health test comes with everything wrong. 10 being you're in the best shape of your life. And perfect health is not just looking good, it's about internal, external, looks wise. So that's your score from this. Next
So
one.
why am I not able to make an entry? When I make an entry, the screen goes off. I'm sorry.
No, no problem. Don't be sorry. We're all amongst friends. So if you click on that, the screen goes off, means maybe you're really unhealthy.
No. Still on the web thing. I don't know why I'm not able to make an entry.
So you put in your email ID?
Maybe not that.
Put your email ID and then try again, because it wants to know who's wealthy. Actually, I'm doing all this for the income tax department. So
how much of a time frame are we looking at for right now also? Are we looking at right now, like right now, or are we looking at in general in life?
this is, you're looking at scoring for now, as in now, today. What is your score which you see for today? 10 being your perfect place at whichever point in your life. Some of you may be at 10 already. Don't think too much, but number will appear. Click on it. Yankee's taken a calculator out, just ignore that. Sorry, Yankee, you're my Rajkala today. Next one is fun. Don't. So next thing is fun. Are you doing things you like doing? Are you your sport? Are you reading? Are you seeing movies? Fun is a bunch of everything which you like doing. It doesn't include travel. It's like this: hanging out, WhatsApping friends, cracking jokes. The whole combination of stuff is fun. Travel is that, some of us have plans to travel twice or thrice a year. Some people want to, but they don't. So that's the score on travel. Some people may want more. Charity is, are you giving enough back? It may be your time, it may be money, it may be donations. So again, you'll have a score for, are you doing enough for causes? Next one is all your material stuff. It's called home, but it's your luxury, material stuff, bags you want, car you want, dream car. Some of you again may feel is not important. Some of you may feel that I want all this. So again, no right or wrong. 10 is what is a perfect place. Your dream home, somebody may want to have a holiday home somewhere. Relationships are, put your score for how you are with spouse, girlfriends, family, parents, friends, relatives. So how are you handling relationships? Can you do more? Are you doing enough? And the last one, most important, is yourself. All of us have a journey which we look at: awareness, learning, spirituality. For some people it's religion, some people it's about courses, studying, where you feel either your knowledge of yourself, meditation, a combination of things, how aligned you are. So this all should be quick. By now, everybody should have done this. If you need another few seconds.
I can't do it, Sajith.
You tried putting the email?
I can't even put the email. As soon as I put the screen, just shuts off.
Delete and click on the link again. And who was having tech this thing? The first part is you can quickly come and catch up whenever you are.
Just a quick check, Sajith. Why would you want to separate home and wealth?
It's not separate home and wealth. I've just termed it as home and everything in it.
So the wealth is, you started the form with wealth.
So wealth is investments. So these are not assets. A home, technically, an asset is anything which earns you more money. So home, though in India we say it's an asset, home has expenses which you have to maintain it. So it's not gone into the asset column. These are material things you want to gain with the money you have. And anybody having tech thing, I would just say pick up a piece of paper and continue doing exercise on paper. That's the other option, so we can continue. And then I'll send you the link. You can just DM me and I will continue to keep working on that. So the next thing is, now once we know where we are, we're going to sort of, this is a nice quote by Anthony Robbins: setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into the visible. So there are things in our mind which we think about, but the idea is to now slowly break it down into, this is how I'm going to achieve it, this is what I want. So it's about turning the notional stuff into reality. Now, the next thing very important also is, here again, breeze through, is to just mull over the things we've done. Now, in this Google form, it'll show one line, but as you keep typing, it'll keep adding lines for you. and you can keep going. So it's your accomplishments to date. Small, professional, it may be something you did in school, certificate. It may be the fact that you're calling your parents regularly. Anything which you feel is an accomplishment. While you're writing it, I'll keep showing you examples. I'll explain these three. Keep writing as much as you want. What do you think you've done till now? It's the office you've started, the places you've traveled to, the friends you're in touch with, the things you've done, the fact that you've got a beautiful home, the books you've read, any small thing, write down what do you feel you've already done good, because it's important to first pat yourself on the back before we go. The second thing is knowledge of your strengths. Why unique? What sets you apart? What do you think are your strengths, or have you heard your strengths to be? Third thing is what makes you unique, sets you apart. But in this, you're looking at your weaknesses. What are things which you feel it doesn't allow you to grow? What are things you realized are your weaknesses? So these three, I'm going to pick up examples while you guys are writing it. Keep typing it. So this, for example, here, if you see, it could be anything small. I've been blessed with a business family. My business has grown organically. I've traveled. I got beautiful holidays. My childhood memories. My parents took me to different places. I've grown it with integrity and honesty. I drive my dream car. So anything. I call my parents regularly. I play tennis. So you can just keep adding. So quickly populate this. You have 5 minutes for this. Don't think. The key thing is I'm going to keep pushing you guys. Just type. Something will come. The moment you're thinking of just whatever comes to your mind is always the top of the mind. What are the things you're feeling good about? What are things you've done? Don't need to refer to the examples and then look at cross-referencing it. It's just to give you an example to say anything goes, whatever you feel good about. Scripts you have written, designs you've done, awards you won. Examples of strengths. It can be bullet points also. Who's managed to draw on my screen?
Sajith, I have a question.
Go for it.
Your financial assessment as you stand today, you're seeing numbers here?
No, just you're on that 1 to 10, right?
Yeah. No, not 1 to 10. The next page. List your assets, savings, earnings, debts, investment scenario.
No, we haven't reached there yet.
Oh, sorry.
Who's drawing on my screen?
You said 5 minutes, yeah?
Some backbenchers drawing on my screen.
We've reached there. You told us to like just think and write.
Yeah, cool. So those who are writing, go on ahead. So I'm going to explain this. The financial assessments are your decisions. So you are putting in as you stand today, assets, savings, screens. Either somebody's kid or somebody's drawn on the screen. If you can just clean that out, I'll give control for this. Okay, so we continue till we find the culprit. So assets, savings, earnings, what your financial picture is. If you've got credit card debts, if you've got assets, you've got fixed deposits, or you don't have, you put an assessment for yourself. And likewise for career, what are your achievements? You set up an office, you got an award, you've got this job which you got, your dream job, you moved to a certain city, your challenges. So it's plus, minus, it's an assessment. Assessment means like you've gone for a medical checkup, it gives you good and bad. And you're writing it for yourself.
Do you just want heads or do you want the actual numbers?
Whatever works for you. The more detail, the better, because this mail is going to come back to you when you finish. And again, the other thing is when you, this email which comes back to you, you can always click and you can keep editing this. But the more details, the better, because you're doing an assessment.
What if you don't know how much you have?
Ideally, you should.
Yeah, you should know. Sorry.
You should know. If you don't know, you can always refer and come back. But if you've got gut feel, it says that I've probably got approximately so much in the bank.
Like that.
Like that, yeah.
Sajith, I am on the first question. So how much time do you allot to each?
This is very quick. This you will get exactly 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
No. I have just finished the one which says list down what you already have, list your accomplishments, blah blah blah. Now is that over? Now move to the next one.
Over. Yeah. You need to breeze through. So do strengths and weaknesses quickly, Gulu.
Okay.
And you can put bullet points. Amit, you can come back to it also. But it's important we go through everything. If anybody feels it's going fast, no problem, you can stop. But then don't resort to that. The idea is to push. And I'm going to constantly remind you guys that there is the idea of speed is to push you guys so something doesn't stop you. So start on this, guys. Again, examples here. Financial assessment example is, again, there is no right or wrong. You might have a personal loan, you might have an auto loan, mortgage, you might have asset value in a certain thing, there might be family asset, whatever comes to mind. If you don't have exact figures, don't write. If you have, write it. It's up to you. Or you need to do something is also an assessment. I should clear my credit card, or I should start saving is also an assessment. So imagine you've gone for a blood test and a doctor is telling you about your body. Same thing is what you're doing for both these.
Sajith, the last question is an overlap from the earlier page, I think.
Which one?
Like your achievements, challenges, your career assessment today.
Yeah, that's just an assessment. These two are specifically looking at your plus and minuses both.
Okay.
Accomplishments are more to be able to pat yourself in the back, and it can include anything. It can be anything which you feel good about. This we are now getting into more specifics.
Okay.
How important is it to do this really thoroughly? Because I have to do it like I have to take some time.
Again, like I said, there is none of this is right or wrong. It's up to you. The more specific it is, you can always revisit it. But for now, I would say put some pointers down for yourself. It may be things you're thinking, or you may want to revisit it, or you may want to put a note saying, I need to find out. And that's a note for yourself. You haven't assessed it yet. So put that note and you can always revisit this. And why this is done, right? And again, I'm going to say this is basically setting the GPS of where you are before we set off on that second part of the journey. Because if you don't know where you are going and where you're starting from, it's very difficult to make that journey. And it's your vision, your plan, and there's no rules. There's no right or wrong. I'm just showing the perfect way or the best way to do it. Within that, 19-20. And these are examples. Again, it's just a random bunch of examples.
Sajith, how specific should be these answers? When you say assets, should I like line up everything, or should I just say house, car, blah, blah, blah?
So I'll give you an example. So if I were to tell you to eat healthy, it's just a message. If I tell you have 1,500 calories and have lettuce and grilled chicken, it'll be very specific. So you know exactly what to do. So the more specific you are, the more it will help you. Like I'm saying, if you're giving coordinates, you're putting latitude, longitude. If it's specific, you know exactly where you're setting off from. If it's vague, you won't know how much the gap is for yourself. So if some of you have to revisit this, the editable format, you put the points, you may put in brackets, I've got to check this. And what I would say is you can come back 3-4 times, but don't make that an excuse to jump over things. If you know it, put it down. But if it's for want of effort, if it's want of knowledge, then come back, is my advice. Humble opinion. Sorry.
Great. Yeah, I agree with you.
Oh, great.
I'm watching.
Hey, go do the career as well?
Yeah. So this is just the foundation we're laying, and then we'll get on to the fun part. And I'm just going to repeat that, I would say if any of you want to come back, repeat it, renew, clean up, detail out, spend time on this because it gives you a very, very clear idea on that gap. Because if you see, we put approximate gut feel 1, 2, 3, 10, this thing. Now it's slowly getting into more and more specifics, which we will keep drilling down again when we go to the next part. So I'm going to move on to the next part. Quick question on the data part. So all this data which comes in, it doesn't go to anybody. It's mailed back to you guys. Nobody is checking it. Nobody is researching. It's not going into any graph or data, this thing. So just to put, and if you guys are worried from that perspective, it's your data. Now the fun part is the next phase, which is where do you want to be? So we're going to be looking at building your vision. And I'm going to do a quick exercise with you guys. And you'll probably see it on your Google form and also on my screen. So the exercise is, I want you to remember and quickly memorize everything which is in red. Few seconds, and then don't look at your Google form also. Ready? Quickly, all of you memorize everything which is the thing and don't look at your Google form now. Scroll down. Now I'm going to ask you.
Do it again, didn't see.
Yeah, please, just one more time.
Everything in red, everything in red. And so the question is, can you remember everything in that picture which was in blue? Right?
It wasn't blue.
Which was in blue. So it stumps you, right? All of you focused on the red, zoomed in on
I got thrown out. Sorry, Sajith.
Somebody, the bouncer came in, Jasjeet.
Yeah, my internet got unstable for a while.
No problem. So your Google form should be there till whatever you filled.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Now, if you look at the image, see the number of blue items which were there. And why we did the exercise, I'm going to explain to you. So when you focus on something, there is a part of the mind which is called the reticular activation system. So I'm going to explain this. It's called the RAS. The short form in psychology is something called RAS. It's also good to know in design because everything in communication design, we are going to be focusing on an aspect called the RAS. It's what you activate for a consumer. And what we are doing now is the whole process of everything which you're doing using NLP and your vision right now is building this. So when you focus on that, your mind switched off and just focus and the blue magically blurred out and you're all trying to memorize the red part. So what is RAS? There is a part of the brain which gives messages to your brain. A good example is that you decide to buy a car and let's say you decide to buy a Skoda for whatever reason and you start to see the ads, you go to the showroom. When you come onto the road, you suddenly start to notice lots of Skodas on the road. Suddenly your mind is just starting to pick up these things because your reticular activation is suddenly popped that on the top of your head. Now, I'll give you another example. Let's say you're going on a flight and usually you don't like to talk to somebody. You are in your own world. Some of us put headphones. You don't want to make conversation. You're sitting and there's a guy sitting next to you. He's a chef, for example. And you didn't know, you landed, you went on. Now, let's say your vision and you make a plan is to have a restaurant in the next 3 years. And that's on your plan. You made a whole vision goal setting for that. You're on the same flight and this guy sits next to you and he speaks and he says, "Hi, I'm a chef." So suddenly something else triggers and then you remember in the back of your mind that I wanted to make a restaurant, or for example, I want to make a film, or I want to publish a book. He's a publisher. So your reticular activation suddenly pops up and says, maybe make conversation because it's going to sequence events. So what this whole bunch of exercises is, what we're going to do now is about activating the reticular activation, goal setting, vision board, vision, everything is about the reticular activation. Now, I'm just going to give 2 quick stories, usually shared by video.
Life, everybody around you is a teacher for you. If you're in a bad relationship right now, you are a student of how to have a better relationship. If you're in a bad situation with your boss, that is a teaching situation for you to learn how to get yourself a better boss. Who would have thought in all of the years of the Oprah Show that Jim Carrey would be one of our greatest teachers? Okay. Obviously you knew somewhere inside yourself that you were destined to be famous, because I think it's really a marvelous thing, that visualization thing you did. Do you all read about this or hear this? That you used to go up on Mulholland Drive and park
every night
and visualize seeing yourself as...
Yeah, I would visualize,
This is when you were broke and poor.
You know, right, having directors interested in me and people that I respected saying, you know, I like your work or whatever that is. And I would visualize things coming to me that I wanted or whatever.
This was in like 1987, 85?
Yeah. And I had nothing at that time, so it was like, but it just made me feel better. It made me, at that time, all it really was for me was kind of making me feel better. I would drive home and think, well, I do have these things, and they're out there. I just don't have a hold of them yet, but they're out there.
Okay, so you would get this from what, self-help books or whatever?
Yeah, self-help section.
Self-help section.
They've renamed it the Jim Carrey wing.
So didn't you write yourself a check? I heard that you did. Is that true?
I wrote myself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered, and I gave myself 5 years, or 3 years maybe, and I dated it Thanksgiving 1995, and I put it in my wallet, and I kept it there, and it deteriorated and stuff, but then just before Thanksgiving 1995, I found out that I was going to make $10 million on, I think it was Dumb and Dumber, maybe.
Dumb and Dumber, yeah.
Yeah.
So you visualize yourself like...
Weird, yeah.
Visualization works if you work hard.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing. You can't just visualize and then, you know, go eat a sandwich.
I love that. That was such a powerful moment for me because I was not a person who did visualization or thought about my belief system in such a practical way. But I learned a lot from Jim Carrey on that show, and he is absolutely correct. If you can see it and believe it, it is a lot easier to achieve it. So thank you, Jim, for reminding us of that lesson. And it doesn't mean that for every person that writes the $10 million check that that's going to happen for you, because so many times people who do that process live in the space of wanting and resisting it instead of writing it, visualizing it, seeing it for yourself, and then letting it go. Letting it go, but moving in the direction of working toward it. So nothing happens at first. It's over the process of the time and the effort and the energy that you put into a thing that the energy comes out.
I felt dumb. I felt like I wasn't as smart as the other kids, and I started to get into a lot of trouble. One of the most, I guess, embarrassing stories, you know, in my life, there was this woman who lived in our building. Her name was Sadie, and she was a teacher, and she used to have this big white cat. It was about 20 pounds. I used to go over to her apartment when I was, 12, 13 years old, just to talk and keep her company. When she would leave the room, I would go into her wallet. I would take $20 or $40 from her wallet. And she was the most loving, caring, kind woman you could ever ask. And I was taking money from her. And years later, I told her. And she said to me that she knew that I was taking money from her, but she was fine with it because I was like her son. And she understood what I was doing and why I was doing it. But she gave me so much love and so much compassion, so much empathy, that even though I was stealing the money from her, she was giving it to me. I offered to pay her back all the money that I had stolen from her plus some, and she wouldn't take it because she knew she was just helping me get through some of the hard times of my life. My parents fought about the lack of money every single day, and that stemmed from my father being a gambler. He was going and gambling on cards and on horses, and almost every single night he and my mother would fight about his addiction, his gambling, and the fact that there wasn't enough money. At a very, very young age, not only was I doing things to make money so I can give a little bit to my mother and to have a little bit of money in my pocket to feel safe. Money in my pocket made me feel like I could protect my mom, I could protect my sister. And what I didn't know at the time was how much of my self-worth and self-esteem I was stripping away because of what I was doing as a kid. I didn't believe I was smart enough. I didn't believe I was good enough to do things legal. I didn't think I was worthy enough. And as I was getting older, I was getting into more and more and more trouble with more and more serious consequences. And I was one step away from either jail or the morgue. And in one lunch, the trajectory of my life changed. This man, Alan Brown, asked me what my goals were, and I didn't have any. And he asked me if I would go home and write my goals down on this piece of paper, or several pieces of paper that he gave me, where I wrote down, how much I want to earn, what's my net worth going to be, what age will I be when I retire, where am I going to travel in the world, what kind of car do I want, what kind of home do I want. He made me write out, 5, 6 pages of a new story for my life. And at the time I thought he was nuts, but he also gave me the how-to. And I believe this works so much that I still do it today. So every day when I wake up and I brush my teeth, I have on my mirror my top 3 goals and the vision for my life. And as I brush my teeth, I'm reading the words to prime my brain. So it's brush your teeth, prime your brain. And I'm reading the words and I'm feeling what it would feel like to actually achieve the financial success I want, the physical success I want, the charitable contributions I want to make, the difference I want to make in the world. And it all stems from, not wanting to have an ordinary life. I want to have an extraordinary life. And so everything that I do is geared towards how do I have and make sure that I have an extraordinary life. And in 1995, I found this Dream Homes magazine, and I cut out a picture of this beautiful white home with lots and lots and lots of windows. And I cut out this picture and put it up on the vision board. And every day when I'd walk into my office, I would look at the vision board and I would pretend that I was walking through that house. I'd pretend I would be driving the car that was on the vision board. I'd pretend I was wearing that beautiful Italian suit. I pretend that I was giving tens of thousands of dollars to charities. When we had just moved into the new home that I bought and renovated, my son Keenan came into the home office, and there was these boxes sitting against the wall. And he sat on these boxes, he was banging his legs on the boxes. And he said, "Daddy, what's in the boxes?" And I said, "Sweetheart, they're my vision boards." And at 5 years old, he said to me, "What's a vision board?" And I tried to explain to him that when I have a dream that I want to achieve, I put it on the vision board. And I said to him, "Sweetheart, let me just show you one of them." And so I opened up the box, which was still sealed and had been sealed for over 3 years in boxes. And I pulled out the first vision board and looked at it. Right in the middle of the vision board was the house that we had bought and were standing in. And I looked at that, and my first thought was, how did the house that I'm living in get on that board? I thought somebody was playing a trick on me. And then tears started to come down my face, and my son said, "Daddy, why are you crying?" I said, "Sweetheart, I think I finally understand how setting goals and visualizing and materializing, making them real, happen." What it represented for me was living an extraordinary life instead of an ordinary life. Living something of a dream life was being extraordinary as opposed to being ordinary. I always felt when I was a kid that my family was actually not even ordinary, that we were below ordinary, we were below average. And the house for me represented being above average. If it was possible for me, then it means that it was possible for anybody else. Mindset, skill set, and action set together. When you do that, that's what is the magic pill and the magic wand that helps people achieve success. It's not just hoping and praying and wishing for success or cutting out pictures from a magazine. You've got to align the mindset with the behaviors that you want to achieve, and that really is the magical formula. You are good enough, and you are worthy enough, and you do deserve to achieve success based on the effort and the work that you've put in. That's what I want for everybody. I want everybody to participate in their own rescue.
But because of Zoom, we won't. When we do the YouTube, we'll add these videos back into it. Many of you have seen Oprah had an interview with Jim Carrey, and he speaks about how he used to drive around when he was a struggling actor, drive through past all these big mansions and these filmmakers, and he should drive as if and believe he owns all this. I'm going to have all this, and he should keep driving through those places. And he wrote a check to himself for $10 million for acting services rendered, and he would keep it in his wallet. And it kept crumbling. And a few years later, he got a $10 million check for Dumb and Dumber. And it was, I think, 5 years to the date he wrote that check. And it's interesting. It could be science, it could be this. But in the interview, he also tells Oprah that, you can't write a check and then go eat a sandwich. That's why he says it in a funny way, that you've got to work on it. You've got to believe one, and second, you've got to do the steps to get to it. Another one is this guy called John Ashraf. And so I did a coaching program 10 years with John Ashraf, and he was one of the guys in The Secret. So what he did is he had moved into this massive house, this palatial house, and a few years later, he was unpacking this box with his son, and there was a big board, and his son asked him that, "Dad, what is this?" So it is a vision board. He wanted to explain to his son what a vision board is. He looked at it and he started crying. And his son was like, "What happened? Why are you crying?" And interestingly, the house he was living in was cut from a magazine and was stuck on his vision board as a house he wanted. And he didn't realize that he had bought the house. So it is a lovely story of the manifestation without even realizing. So just two quick examples, which I will again share as videos with you guys, YouTube links, and put it into this also. So what we're going to do is a really fun exercise, which is we're going to imagine July 2025. And we're going to imagine your perfect life. So a few rules for that perfect life. When you write it, there is that section now in the form. you will write it as if you already achieved it. So your languaging is not going to be, I am going to, I want to be healthy. It's not going to be, I have offices or I want to. So it's got to be written as if you've achieved it. And when you write this, enjoy this, because this is the maximum time you'll get in today's thing is for this. Write with all the senses. All the senses. Thinking about a studio, it's echoing through something. I feel like Rajnikant in a. Okay, so when you write about your studio, for example, UK, write where it is, what does it look like, is it brick textured, if won a certain award, how does it feel, you're standing in front of the stage, if it's a dream, footage on a hill, write all the senses, what does it feel, is there wind in front of you, is there a sound of, what do you call, a stream passing by, if it's your children going to Harvard, you're at the graduation, write it with as many details. And the languaging is as if you achieve it. Think big. So again, remember, Genie is asking you. There is somebody is going to tell you that, yeah, not possible. So put that voice off and think of it as fiction writing. It's a genie asking. So enjoy yourself when you write it. So if you look at it, go to the Google form. It'll again keep opening up as you sort of write it. And tell yourself there's an example on top of that sheet which says how to write it. Look at the languaging and have fun. So go ahead, write about, and now remember again, you had a try and cover, somebody's got to mute so the echo doesn't come. So try and cover aspects of the wheel of life. Your health, the charity, are you sending kids to school? Are you traveling? Where are you traveling? So I am sitting in my holiday in Bali, looking out into the sea. So that kind of languaging is what you're going to write. So have fun here. And again, there's no right or wrong. The only thing is think big. I've kept this image of the genie here, so you keep remembering that it's a genie level writing. Anything can happen in 5 years. Don't tell yourself, don't cut yourself short. Diraj, you can think Oscar, all the films which you've got. You can put unmute.
Sajith, supposing I don't want to have a business and I don't want anything like that. I just want to be happy in life.
You don't need to write about whatever works for you, Nisha. So the whole thing of the vision board is, or the vision writing when you're doing, it's whatever works for you. So when you get your wheel of life, if one of them, it doesn't matter to you, you can let go of it. And if you also want to visualize a family, if you're going to think about the spouse, if it's about chat, whatever it works for you. Diraj, you were asking something? You want to unmute?
I'm saying, where do you write this? Which page is this?
So there is, you would see a section in that form, which is the next section automatically after you've done, which will be about visualization. After that picture of that red and blue thing, you scroll down.
It says your vision for your perfect life in 2025.
Okay. This is in the middle. No, it's in the middle, right? 1 second.
Just start typing and you can it'll keep increasing sections. So I'm going to play light music if it's okay with you guys. Anybody has doubts, put it on chat. I'm looking at the chat now. Remember languaging as if you've achieved it, and as many senses. Something to close your eyes in between, see the place, and then write. July 2025. Actually, don't think, keep writing. There's one voice which will keep coming, so just keep writing. You can see the faces where the voices are coming. Five more minutes.
So much we have to write.
Keep going. Don't be lazy, Sheetal. Don't delegate. Delegate. Two more minutes. Okay, guys, I can have you back. So this again, you can go back, have fun, keep detailing. If you see that once you get into that space, it's a wonderful space. You can take half an hour, 1 hour, and once you get there, you get into the whole framework of thinking and seeing all the senses. It's an amazing space. So hope many of you managed to put down a bunch of thoughts onto it. Need more time, or you guys are good to move on? Yep. So we'll go to the next part. Now, the key thing is, again, if you write and just have a vision is not going to take part. So what I'm going to do today is basically, I'm guiding you through and pushing you to do as much of the assignment. But this is a framework which you can revisit and do it in more detail. And if you just have passive listening, you're not going to get the thing. That's why I'm pushing you guys to write the whole thing. But again, you can revisit this. So if you break it down of how do we achieve it? What's the simplest way to go about achieving what you've got to achieve? So the simplest thing is a simple phenomenon called a timeline. Now, again, in the timeline, when I do the exercises, if you can also visualize them, it's much easier for design or creative people, because then you can visualize a lot easier. You can get your senses into play. So what we're going to do is, if you look at the form, from what you wrote out, type in 10 things you want to pick up and for sure you want to achieve. So if you see that, right? So from your full list, just put down bullet points one by one. It may be across, it may be a few things. You may take a few things from career, few from health, from travel. So put down those points into that. I'll also show you examples and stuff. Also,
Sajith, these are points we pull out from the vision for your perfect life, is it?
So what you wrote out, the full essay, again, the way we have thought, you may have gone in different parts and come back or added it. Your mind may have gone. So just structure it and just pick up 10 key points. Don't have to stretch it out. So 10 key points you want to achieve.
So these could be
what if they are not 10 points?
It can be more, it can be less.
And these are distilled from that, right? They're not the same points. It's what those points mean. From
So
you want to distill the meaning behind those points.
You want to pick up the essence of it. So I'll give an example. Just so if when I wrote my vision thing, I had almost 30-40 points I picked up from that. I've just put 10 as a number because of time. The way you should have written it, there should be a lot more. There should be, because you're writing about different aspects. So Gulu, you're distilling and you're picking up. So let's say, for example, if one of the things are, I want offices in different parts of the world. So you're putting all those places down, offices and so and so. If it's about your health, and so you're writing that down. And now these should be the more specific, the better it is.
Got it.
Okay. So each of the points can be extrapolated and they can be more and more from there.
So do we write this in the same place or we write it on a separate piece of paper?
No, you scroll down, it continues down. The form picks up.
Okay. So in the same area, right?
Yeah. So not in the same area. There is a next section.
Okay, one sec. So I have to go to the next page.
Yeah, go to the next page.
So I have to remember what I wrote and put those points down.
So there will be, since you have written it in this thing, there will be things which pop up.
Okay.
So now I'm going to explain the next few steps. So just listen clearly. You're taking down 10, 5, 20. I put 10 as a number just to quantify it. And again, the form will keep adding as much as you want. So again, think big. Don't let that mind come and say, yeah, nay. Just pick up the best of it. Put it into that. Then if you look at it, it says to achieve those things in 2025, there's a bunch of things you got to do in 2024. So the next section says, now again, for example, I'm going to use a weight as an example. If I've got to be 68 kilos in 25, you might say in 24 that couple of things, that you've got a gym membership, I've come to 72 kilos, and or if it's about offices, then you'd see that I'm talking to somebody else in 2024 and I fixed up this. If you've got 100 employees in 25, it's 80 employees. So you're working backwards. So, and then the same thing will continue for every year. Now, if you see this is an example. Okay, I'm going to take you through. This is a detailed example. Now, this is 2025. It's an example which says I have offices. These are things picked up from the vision thing. So offices in Singapore, London, Bali, Delhi, Romania. Next thing is I have 20,000 square feet house by the sea. I've invested in 3 startups, valuation, so and so. Travel, locations you want to travel. The number of kids so whatever you've picked up here, body fat. Now the same examples, when I move it to the next year. So if you see the continuation from 25 in 2024 July, it says I found a partner in Romania. The other offices are there. The other 2 places are not yet there. If I'm built my dream house, I've saved up so much money and I'm talking to this specific architect, for example. If it's a valuation of so much, the subscribers are so much. If your list of travel is so many, you've traveled already so many 24. So if your kids are going to Harvard, you've saved so much. You're working backwards in each point. Understood? A lot of worried expressions and clear expressions. So I'm going to explain once more. You've got your vision you wrote out. You pick up the points, and again, I've gone detailed to push you guys. You pick up what's comfortable for you. Put bullet points of the points you want to pick up, and this is what is your outline for 2025. And then basis this, you're working backwards. So if you're visualizing your life backward. So if you've achieved this, visualizing to get this, I have to do this in 24. So again, I'm working backwards because your logical mind comes in. If you work forward, so you're working backward.
But Sajith, you made us think so far ahead that I don't know what these in-between steps are for many of them.
So the idea is now, if you again, that's the logical part, speaking Tanuja. When you did 2025, right? Did you have fun and did you let go of your logical mind?
Yeah, totally.
So Now, don't let the logical mind come in. That's why we are slipping backwards and not moving from now. So forget you're in 2021 or 2020. Forget that. So this again, for example, here is a crazy dream of somebody. So it's got a bunch of stuff which is next to impossible in the logical mind right now. So for me to achieve it, you're just working backward, again, just taking a foot back from your dream. You're not coming into the logical zone yet. So it means that this person has office in Singapore, London, Bali, Delhi, and Romania. Now a step backward would mean by then, 2024, 3 offices would be there. You're still dreaming. You're still holding the genie's hand, letting go slowly, and you're just taking a step back. So don't worry about your logical mind. And it's very tough. So all this looks easy and fun. We're playing out of your comfort zone. So I'm just saying, park that logical mind and just bear with me and go with it. So you're just taking a step back. You're not even in 2020. So don't worry about the train meeting and two things digging both ways. Just you're working backwards. Are we good?
I have a question.
Go for it.
So what about dreams and goals, supposing we have made for somebody else? So for example, I want to see somebody else successful.
Sure.
So would I start predicting for them also how they will be progressing or visualize their progression?
So 2 things. If you don't have control of that, don't put that in your vision. If it's a wish and a feel-good thing, it doesn't come as part of your vision. It becomes part of your family and relationship part where you're wishing well for others. You can't control that. But let's say if it's a child and you've got to save for their education to send them and then make them successful, maybe you can put that into it. If it's, let's say, for example, if you want someone to grow and become an author, then you might quantify and say, I'm going to make sure I connect them to a publisher in that year, or I'm going to motivate them or become their accountability partner. So you may want to quantify that well wish, but if you can't keep control of it, don't put that into this exercise. But it looks fine. Looks easy, but to get the mind to get out of your logical state is the toughest part, which is what we're programming and starting. So don't worry if you're feeling squeamish, this, that. Again, genie talk. You're having fun. You're still in a flight of fancy. Enjoy that ride.
But Sajith, I just had one question. Sorry, I'm cutting you here. It says here that list 10 things you have to do. So the wording has to be as if I have to do or that I've already done. So it's a good catch. These wordings are wrong. What I've written here is example. The wordings are wrong. You should write it as if you already achieved it. It's a good question. So if you see, there are places, it's a mix. So for example, where I've written invested in 3 startups is right, travel to is right, funded is right. The first 2, which says have office, I already have is what your languaging should be. Have a house, it means that, but you're supposed to write, I have a house, which is so-and-so. In this case, I have saved so-and-so, I have offices, I have traveled to, my startup now has over. So just make sure that, so I'll keep these examples if you guys want, or if you feel distracted, I'll take it off.
So you're saying that ideally there should be I am statements, like I am fit or healthy or in the best shape or whatever it is.
Already achieved. In an already achieved state.
Even for the 2024 thing, it is already achieved?
Yeah, everything you're languaging, because now I'm going to leave you to take it step by step backwards. So you're doing 25, 24, 23, 22, 21. So just take it step by step and everything is already achieved, So what you're doing is you're walking back on a timeline.
But if I written things as points, even those I should convert into statements, right? Like I am this or I have that. Or
Sajith, we start with 25, is it?
Yeah. So what you wrote, right, your full vision, you pick up the points which you want to, which you're holding on to dearly when you wrote that stuff. And you're filling up this first sheet, the top one, which says 10 things from 2025. So 10 is a number. It could be 20, 10, 5, 3, whatever really means a lot to you. Again, don't let that voice say, yeah, not possible. Why do I pick the best?
So can one start with 21? What you would do in 21?
Nope.
Okay.
You have to go backwards, right?
Yeah, backwards. So
the moment you start from there, there's a logical mind. So we'll meet the logical mind. Leave that person out of this.
Okay.
So all the discomfort is that it's all natural, guys. It's at the end of it, the idea is to push you out of a comfort zone, and there is that voice which is always going to be there. And we'll talk about that at the end. So say some galis and send that voice off, please. And put Diraj's unmute and he'll teach you nice galis. You're stepping back one by one. 22, 21. I'm leaving this if you want. If it's overwhelming you or worrying you, I can take it off. It's there to subconsciously tell you, please think big. And don't worry right or wrong. Remember that there's something which you can constantly edit for yourself. So idea should just get you the exercise, push your muscle memory. Also from experience, I tell you that you will never do this yourself. There's a very small percentage you'll do it. That's why we're pushing to make sure you guys do this. Otherwise, you'll go back and something will come up. So everybody who's saying, I'll do it later, please push. I'll courier candy to everybody.
So can I go back to the previous page? Is that a...
Sure, you can.
Oh, okay. So it's still save everything, right?
Can I write, I have taken over Sajith's 3 bungalows and 2 businesses?
This is Rajkala's dream, not mine. Yeah, you can.
Then we'll see whose genie is better, no, yours or mine.
Yeah, genie come here for you. How many of you have reached 23? Kavita, you look like you know any of the questions in the answer paper, the exam paper. I can see your discomfort. Only 5 more minutes to finish up to 2021, huh? So just speed up, guys. This is when I let you say you can come back to it later, but speed up.
We come back to fill this on later.
Yeah, just put some AA or BB so it'll let you go to the next section. Otherwise, it's built that nobody can move forward. Type something because otherwise it won't let you move. It's like me only. But ideally, you should have reached 2021 for the next part of the exercise. I promise you will thank me at the end of it. Just keep going. Who's making those sounds? Was it me? Some guidelines on 21, how everybody's got. Right, so we've covered 24, 23, 22, 21. Now, what we have to do is the next 1 year plan. And this is one quote which I want to explain to you, which is the basis of most planning mistakes. People underestimate what they can achieve in 5 years. So you tend to say not possible. But if you make a 1 year plan, even for organizations, they overestimate the numbers they put, the things they want to do, the books they want to read, the weight they want to lose. All aspects people tend to overestimate. So it's very critical that these two things are never mixed up. And most people make that mistake. And there's always that voice, both ways the voice works the other way. So what we're going to do now is, some of you have finished the exercise, some of you need to go back to it, but this is very critical. Those who have not, the next part, we will do a few examples of, but you'll have to sit and do this in a detailed manner. I'll show you how much detail we can get into and how much if you don't want to also. So what happens is now, when you work backwards, what happens is you're funneling and working backwards to a timeline where you know by 2021 July where you've got to be. And we've got that 1 year gap to get to that. And then from there is just a few steps away. It just becomes a lot more simplified when you walk backwards and you know that no, it's all possible, it's pieced together and it's fallen into 2021. And that gap which is there is a 1 year gap where you're going to detail it out. So what happens is, the next stage is where you're going to make something which is action steps. So there are different action steps. Now each action step should have something called a WWW. And I'm going to explain this WWW, which ideally should be the way you finish every single meeting you are in. A WWW is what, by when, and who. Because we all have meetings, we take decisions, but if you don't assign 3 things, what are we going to do, who's going to do it, and by when. So what we're going to do is, if you look at the next thing, right, there are individual answers. For each of those, you'll have a heading which says you want to grow the office, you want X number of clients, you want, so for example, if it's money and you want so much in the bank, you will have a detailed this thing which talks about it. So by next month, I've got to do this. So each of them, you can have multiple things. I'm going to give you an example of one of them. So let's say one of them is, in the next 1 year, I've got to do a bunch of things in my company growth. So my WWW can be detailed under one section itself. So if I'm talking only about marketing, I'll break it down into, first step is I've got to benchmark worldwide companies. By when? August 10th. Who's going to do it? Put a name to it. So I just put dummy names like Sharan. I want to create a new graphic language for the company by August 15th. Who's doing it? Ganesh. I want to get content done by 31st August. Should I hire an external copywriter or can I do it myself? I need to grow. I need a SEO done. I need to finalize the company. So whatever you're thinking now needs specific action steps. Otherwise it won't happen. I need more business. I should join a networking organization. I got to find it by August. I should send direct mailers to all my old clients. We need to get an idea for that by August 28th. I want to read the Pentagram case study, maybe an action step. Or I want to speak to people who have grown their businesses. So who are they? Put names, either 1 degree of separation, or I know someone, I want to meet them. So I've just put Philip Kurian and Shalini, and that's by September. I'm thinking of an office in Delhi, so I should probably visit and study the market by September. Or I've got to make a business, I haven't made a business plan yet. So maybe I should get an auditor or go to a website like Live Plan and make it. So this is, you can go into so much detail. This is an extreme of how much detail you can go into one of the sections, or you can just put points for those. So if it's saving, if it's weight loss, so you take one section for weight loss or getting in the best shape of your life. If it's holidays, where you want to go, you got to save up so much. So now the next section which you're doing, you are actually typing into one of them and just putting down the points you've got to do this year. So specific steps, are there things to do in July? It's almost over. So I'd say August, September, just put plans for each of them. So if you're taking one, which is, I want to have.
The first one says Vision 2025. Do you have to fill that as well?
We should have finished that, Gulu. We've then worked backward from there.
No, it's come on this page. I'd already filled it before.
Is that for everybody?
No. It just says Vision 2025 and below that it just says required.
Okay,
yeah, that's
requirement.
Scroll down. Amit, just scroll down. That doesn't need to be filled.
Oh, but it says required.
Required is only the red thing which is for Nietzsche where you are supposed to fill.
Can you see these different white squares like this, Gulu, like it's on the slide?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
just scroll down. That's what you
So type this out and start doing.
It says I need to. It says I need to.
Yeah, each one of them is separate now. And there's, so this same screen. So the points which you got, you are now making specific plans, action steps. So one can be for your office, you can do one for this, but then put action by when. So I would say try and fill 1 or 2 now and then revisit it, because this is a very detailed thing. Put just AA or BB so you can move on to it. But ideally, in an ideal world, if you want to achieve stuff, it should be here. This is, for example, I need to grow my business. And these are examples with month, date, who. So it's a www. I'm going on writing, and the thing is, who has to do it, what has to be done, and by when. Understood? So why don't you attempt it, guys? Just try a few of them. So if you look at your plan and you come to 2021 or you've not also, pick up health, pick up travel, pick up savings. And if, let's say, for example, an example is I've got to, this year I've got to clear out my credit card debt, which is worth 50,000 rupees. So then August I'm doing 10, then 20, or I'm going to get a project issued up in one shot. So put a timeline and date how to do it. So this is your for this year, very specifically. Are we good?
So wait, if I forget the 3 W's, it's when, who, and
what do you got to do?
When and who. Okay.
You got a timeline for it. And are you doing it yourself, or do you need help? You need to ask somebody, or you've got to delegate it to somebody in your team, or you've got to take advice from somebody.
like the example given here, right? It's got, this is assuming there is an office or you're hiring someone. In this case, it's a company who's looking at growing. So the marketing thing, which we've not done, or you're actually brainstorming and filling up different aspects. So whatever comes to mind now, but put deadlines and timelines because it won't happen. So that's why the WWW is there.
Sajith, I have one question.
Sure.
This I need to is from the vision that you've made for 2025.
So your work backwards,
and we
and
detail
you
goes out.
2021.
Okay, from
So
2021.
you have a gap from today to 2021 July.
Okay, so that's the one that we need to fill out. And
What you're
fill out
filling
each
now
of these
is
points.
individual things you've got to do to get there. So again, I'm giving the example, if you're talking about health, it may be I'm going to take a gym membership, or you're not taking action on it. I'm going to get accountability partner. I'm going to change my diet from right now.
Understood.
Are we good, guys? Just put bullet points also, it's fine. You can ignore the example. But in this year, what action steps are you going to take? So Diraj, if your 5-year plan was having so many movies and it's got this ditch, in this you'll be about finding a producer or talking to a script, this thing, you'll break it down. One section will be for film.
No, but this year is over for pretty much everybody.
So we are starting from July. This is from August 1st to August. This plan you're doing is from August 1st up to July 2021.
So I can't just say start something. I have to also say when I want to finish it.
Yeah. So your plan should know when you're starting and what you're doing and who you're working with, or you're doing it yourself.
And each is a single point, right?
Each is a single point, but you may have multiple points under single if you want, or you may just put one point. Again, it's all this work go over. It's just your commitment to take action. So put bullet points for each of those aspects. Things you have to do this year. Also, you'll find things you've been procrastinating, not doing. Are you publishing a book? Do you got to speak to a publisher? Is there a specific project which you wanted to get? You got to promote it. Is it a collaboration you wanted to do? Who you got to reach out to? If it's a new course you've got to create or design. If it's a new client you want to acquire. So the idea is to explain this. I'm going to move on to the next one. So again, put A or B in that. You guys are good with this? Anybody has doubts on this section?
Only for the 2020, like it's for right now actions, right?
So it's basically, you had stopped the earlier one up to 2021 July. So there's a, from today up to 2021 July, what are the things you've got to do? So you're specifically starting off from tomorrow, what are you going to do? So it's this month you got to do. So under each section, so if it's health, you'll have a bunch of things you'll start tomorrow. You'll do the next month, you'll do it 3 months. If it's for your company, if it's for the marketing of your company, if it's for partners, if you're looking for an investor. So all those points are what you're putting from here till then under different aspects of your vision. And again, any of you who have gaps, don't worry. The idea was to get you to do a bunch of it, explain the science behind it. And the fun thing is with this, you can come back and re-edit. But this is a framework with which you work with, which will get you a clear idea to get to that. So I'm going to go to the next section, guys. So the next one is, now there will be some obstacles which you will get again when you start off. So the idea is to fill those out. Now, if whatever you've written out, and many of us start something and you feel there might be a chance of failure. Let me not go too big. Let me not scale up. So is there something you do differently if there was no chance at all you'd fail? Would you go and pitch an idea to somebody? Would you walk up and speak to a certain producer if you're a film this thing? Would you go and talk to a certain client? Would you take on a certain scale of project? Would you start in a new location? So this basically section you're writing is, first thing you write is, what would you do differently if there was no chance to fail? So again, just quickly put some points there. Next question is,
are there any new beliefs you have to accept? Because when you're doing all this, and you will see the discomfort many of you had, is there might be some new beliefs you've got to take on. I'll show you examples. So your belief may be, I don't procrastinate, or I am somebody who understands money, or I am somebody who can be fit. I am somebody who can do whatever I believe in. I'm somebody who can publish around the world. So these are some new beliefs you've got to write for yourself. The second thing, are there new habits? So is it about, I've got to stop procrastination. I've got to be able to plan my time better. So you will know for yourself there are habits which are holding you back. So if that vision, which I've got, such a big one I've got to achieve, are there things I've got to change from this? And the third from this is, do I need to reach out to some mentors or advisors? Because I may stumble, I may need advice or things. So you want to list out people you're going to reach out for to make sure you achieve those goals. So and if you need to reach out, I'm there to help for this. But are there people who have done this, who've built a company, who have published books, or made films, or anything which is in your vision, or who have traveled, or just backpacked and taken a gap year, sabbatical? So any of these things in your vision, are there people you can reach out to? So these are 3 things. It should be quickly filled in. Examples here. My belief is a new belief. I'm a financial whiz kid who desires wealth. Earlier, I would feel like I don't deserve it, or money is a bad word. My company has a unique and superior service. It'll grow. I have every resource to grow. So any of these things could be your new beliefs which you've not thought before. Habit examples are, I've got to get disciplined and focused today. Maybe I waste too much time. Or I only look at design and I don't do marketing. I don't pay attention to that. Or I don't like looking at the financial dashboard of my company. My new habit should be, I've got to look at it if I'm running a business, for example. Are you guys good? This should be a breeze. Put points down. 2 minutes only.
Sajith, how do you differentiate between what would you differently if you knew for sure there was no chance at all for you to fail, and what are the new habits you need to make sure you achieve your goals?
That's a separate question altogether. What would you do differently is, if it's just you telling yourself that there is no chance of failure. So, for example, if I were to ask and I were writing this for myself, I would say that I would have no more fear to open in new markets without the fear of failure. I would hire more employees and get the best, because you always think that how do I pay salaries? How would I do this? Or how do I get an investor? I know that I have a good enough idea which can get me investors. I know I will take my book to a publisher which is international. So these are things which we don't do because of that. So it's just a sentence which is, I would be a lot more confident if I knew I wouldn't fail.
Okay. Okay.
It's just setting you up.
All right.
Something good.
Got it. Thanks.
And habits, for example, are just things which we know we should do differently, which we keep saying, yeah. And that's the reason we tell ourselves, I can't do it, or I don't have so much time, or how do you manage time so well, you ask other people.
Sajith, are you doing it for each of those sections, as in health or?
This is just broad. This is broad stuff.
Great, thanks.
The last one is the mentors. That's up to you what you want to write. People to reach, advisors, people who are experts in the thing which you're thinking of doing. There might be somebody from school who's an expert in investment, somebody who's really good at something else. You want to publish a book, somebody who's published a book. Ayush wants to become a minister. Is there somebody who's got into that whole field and made a difference? So you might reach out to people who can become mentors for you. And those who are moving on, there is one question which says, why I must and I will. So that looks like a vague question. But if you look at it, is there a reason for you to succeed? Why you must succeed and you will succeed? So for example, I know that if I succeed, I'll be financially secure, debt-free, and I can grow my business the way I want it to without having any worry of I can rapidly grow and do excellent work, hire good people. Or with that excess money, I can put 50 street children. So we all have different motivations for doing this. Or I can go and holiday wherever I want, whenever I want. I don't have to work for the sake of money. So
These are just, again, if you think back, you will find there will be something which triggers you for wanting to do something. And if you don't have a strong why, you will find out that you will not take action. You can also put bullet points wherever anybody is stuck with time.
Sajith, what is the new habit you spoke about?
The new habits are, if you know, when you wrote your weaknesses and stuff, right? You would have realized that if you want to achieve all the things you want to achieve in the next 5 years, and if you made the plan, you got to take action. So some of us will find that we procrastinate, or maybe you might find I've got to watch less Netflix, or I've got to read something new, or your new habit will be that I've got to wake up earlier, or I've got to be able to plan my calendar, I've got to reach earlier for meetings, or I've got to be able to whatever. So these are all new habits which you don't have. Everybody is going to be different. I've just put an example. Some of us don't have the habit of marketing ourselves and we feel awkward about it. Some of us don't like to negotiate and we feel awkward about it. Some of us postpone talking to partners when we don't want to be partners. So it may be any of those things. So it's a habit. You've got to take action. So in your action steps, you will find that your habits are coming in the way. So these things are basically, it's just making you think a little bit to uncover to not talk.
How it is different from what are the new beliefs you have?
So beliefs are emotional thoughts you have. Habits are manifestations. Beliefs are things we tell ourselves. So if we have the same beliefs, you will know your beliefs which are holding you back. So it's again just getting awareness about, like for example, sometimes I feel money is a bad word and I shouldn't have it. And many of us creative people have that as a belief that I don't need to work for money, or money will make me corrupt, or we're brought up in families where we're told that if you have money, you're corrupt. Or some of us in the main gate, we used to hear seniors say that I think he's doing good work, so he's got a lot of money, so he's not doing good work. So there are a lot of these beliefs which we mix up, which make us do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
When I was starting my business, in the first year, I had an annual turnover of about 5,000 rupees. And to a very large extent, I somehow, I don't know where I got this thought that money is bad, or that to earn money, you need to do things are wrong, and I did not do anything wrong. And, in the second year, I obviously figured out that, this is not going to work, because I told my parents that I need to have 5 lakhs before I get married, and at that rate, I was never going to get married. So I told myself that money does not determine where I go. It's like petrol. I need petrol to go from A to B, but A to B is my choice. Where I want to go is my choice. And I think that thought to me personally was very, very empowering. So I think it is kind of a visualization of a different sort, where I kind of put money in its respective place, but kept the choice of what to do with it with me, and did not feel bad about earning money thereafter.
No, thanks for sharing that. That's a perfect example of a belief which you're reprogramming yourself. So what we're doing in this whole exercise is just digging in the field to uncover stuff. And these are things you've got to think again. I mean, today is again a process, a framework, which we're just putting in place. So I'm going to move on, guys. So again, want of time.
Show the why. Will slide once more. Yeah.
So there needs to be a big why for you wanting to do all this, right? Yeah. And everything. So for example, I'll give you a perfect example of a why. So I'm going to give an example of weight loss again. So if you have somebody who says, I want to get into my wedding clothes again, that's a why somebody has. Or I've got to lose weight for my prom. You'll have kids say that, for example. So usually when that occasion is over, they put on weight back again. So that's a very small why. So if you keep expanding the why, I've got to look good, that's not a weakness thing. Or if for example, my why is I want to dance at my grandkid's wedding. So my visualization is I'm going to be super healthy and I'm going to be dancing like crazy on the stage, not for my kid's wedding, for my grandkid's wedding. So that why for me is the biggest excitement, to be healthy, to put myself into fitness. So your why has got to be big. It can't be a small this thing, and you'll find that everything you do gets driven by a why. So these are all things to explore and think and discuss. So we're just sort of poking holes and just getting you guys to start thinking on these things. And the last one is a commitment to act. On a scale of 1 to 10, how sure are you to take action and achieve your dreams and goals you planned out? This is your commitment. This is for yourself.
put this thing, and when you send this, right, click on send me a copy of my responses, and that will have a button which is edit responses. We've done this, send, and you'll receive a mail. So you can revise and edit all this. So what we've done, right, we've just gone.
Do I submit it? Do I submit it?
Yeah, submit it. So click on this toggle which says send me a copy of my responses.
Got it. And submit.
And then it will come with a button for editing. And it will come as a PDF. You can even print it out and look at it, even fill it with paper first and stuff like that. And some of it you may want to sit in a group with your family, with office, all that you can keep revisiting. And you have the link, just copy that link also, so you have it with you for the form, right? Whenever you want to start from scratch. So I'm just going to give you a quick thing. So the basic framework, what we've done, right? And it's tough, the thinking process, and why we pushed it is because there is that voice which is constantly going to trouble you. And I could see a lot of us, and it's more stuff. So for example, the same exercise, when I do it with the business community, this whole thing filled in detail would happen in 90 minutes flat with zero doubts, etc. And it's not because we don't process it, because it's a voice in the back which is sort of pushing in. It is very, very natural what you guys have done. So this basically is the most simplified framework to get clarity, to go from point A to point B. And if you can fill out, go into as much of detail as you can. Anybody, please WhatsApp me if you have doubts, you want me, I'm always there to guide for this. But this, trust me, will make a massive difference, and without realizing it's already shifted a lot of things. So I'm going to just give you a few more cheat codes, but before we go, just one or two of you, if you can just share, how are you feeling? How was it, before we get to the last segment?
Sorry, Sajith, one thing. I have to click on that, send me a copy of my responses, right?
Yes.
And
toggle
then
toggle and then send.
I sent and I got also.
Fantastic. Gulu, you want to share? How are you feeling?
Yeah, it's a fantastic thing. You see, I have always been very progressive about how the business has grown, very organic. And I typically, exactly, of course, you framed it in a very articulate way. You said, you know, what you dream, you will execute if you are committed to that dream. But in my case, I have very nebulous kind of dreams, but every 6 months I'll focus on one thing, and then pretty much in a year or so it'll happen. So I have also, after you articulated it, I realized, looking back, how it happens for me. So if I want a car, I'll sort of think about it a lot, and then I'll pull all sorts of gears to make it happen, and then it'll happen. And if my son needs to get into college somewhere, then it's his dream actually. But I have to create the ecosystem that will allow him to actualize the dream. So, you know, it's very, it's like baby steps. You know, I know what the big picture for me is like, but I don't frame it as a big picture. I frame it in a very, very tunnel vision kind of way. So this was a fantastic way for me to see it all in one big picture. It's like large canvas thinking. And when I put it down on a large canvas, it's also expanding my tunnel vision to more things which I need to do. And it also made me immediately conscious about the stuff that I'm not doing and why I'm not doing it. So I know there are about 5 things I really need to do what it takes to get my business where I want to. But, you know, I'm very complacent at a certain level. I'm so satisfied and happy that I've got everything I want that I don't want to do those things. But when I actually put it down, I realize that a lot of it is fueled by debt. A lot of it is not my own money. It's just a big house of cards that I've built for myself. And if I really want to get to the next level, I need to do a lot more to free myself from those shackles. And what this made me very conscious of about was that actually I want a lot more control over my own time. And you know, money can sometimes it's not about just having more money. It can give you control over how you spend your time. You have a lot more agency about how you manage your time, your life, and so on. A lot of it right now is dependent on other people, like my clients and my deadlines and some screwballs that, you know, who are just slowing things down for me. So I need to get that shit out of the way. So I have to get the friction out of the system.
You know, I've noticed one thing for myself, that, you know, sometimes when you make a vision strong enough, you actually don't have to work hard. I don't know whether, Sajith or anybody else feels that way, but for me, if I said that this is something that I must do, it is worth doing, that I'm willing to invest my life into, strangely enough, I don't have to work towards it. It kind of automatically happens. Your choices, you kind of automatically direct yourself because it kind of sits in the back of the mind. So, you pick up the opportunity, you get like a million opportunities, but you pick up the ones that are most aligned to what is there in the back of your mind. So
the analogy, Ayush, is like what I share is it's like climbing Kilimanjaro, right? So when I did the trek, so by the third or fourth day, you see the mountain in the distance and you know you're going to go there. You get lost, you go through some woods, but you know you'll come out and then you're headed to Kilimanjaro. So really having a very clear distilled vision of the future is like having Kilimanjaro. You'll always, you'll never go perfectly to plan. You will go all over, but then when your business fails, when things go wrong, when something happens, when COVID comes, you know that it's just the forest you've gone into because you're going to come out of that clutter and suddenly there is one path which will lead you back to that clear mountain. So what happens is really about getting that clarity. And like Gulu, what you said is true. We have success in parts. So what this is basically, it's the simplest codified way to get from point A to point B and get it in a much larger perspective, and you get aspect of all your balance, because otherwise you get driven only by money or only by career. And everybody, like Nisha asked, what if it doesn't matter about business? It doesn't matter, because if you can visualize anything, it can happen. Because there are exercises I do with some people just on their health. You can get a vision board and clarity and work backwards in the timeline just for health or just for your dream home. So it can be applied in multiple ways. One more person, if you can share, we can quickly go to the last part. Ritika, you want to go?
Can I? Okay.
Please, Jasheet, go for it. I didn't see you.
I think, Sajid, this is such a wonderful exercise. It's more or less like at least I'll talk about myself, that I keep procrastinating on making a plan like this. So thank you so much. That actually I had a plan to make a summer house in the next 5 years, and it really this was a perfect timing. That I could write what I need to do now, what I need to do next year. I also learned to I have to learn to do some kayaking. I have to go to a gym. I have to do other things, and it's such a simple activity which we do in education here. That when we start a design project, we do a similar activity without realizing that we can do it on our own. So we actually ask the students. So here's the brief, and here's the number of weeks you have, and how would you plan it? And these students have only done a simple course in design methodology. So they actually work out a plan at how much time they require to do their research and analysis, and how much time for concept development, when will they do their mock-ups. So they do the same thing. It's easier to get it done from others, but when you do it yourself, you feel exposed. And I definitely felt very insecure, because when I was writing, you said write down 10 key points, and I was like wondering, did I really write 10 key points? But then what's also very important is, at this state, at this very moment, whatever is really your priority shows up.
Sure.
In a very subconscious way, you might want to write a book, you might want to build a house, or you might want to invest, but things which are really very much dear to you will pop up first. Sure. So that's also a very interesting realization, that how other things are not coming up.
Thanks, Jasheet.
Yeah.
So we'll come back at the end. I'm going to quickly give you some cheat codes on how you can achieve it besides this. So these are the simple shortcuts to getting it. I just kept a few things, very simple ideas, which has worked for me. These are my cheat codes. So I'm just going to sort of share it with you guys. First one is, like you said, we're all designers, and this is an exercise which should be fun. Whatever you did, if you can create a vision board and hear about it, but the magic of a vision board, if you can, and we are designers, some people do it through magazines and stuff, but if you can use PowerPoint or Photoshop or Illustrator and combine it, it's even better. Like, for example, my son, we went to the showroom of the car he sat in the car, he wanted to take a picture and put it on his vision board. My daughter had Harvard on her thing, so we ordered from Amazon a t-shirt with Harvard on it, which she's got hanging in her room. So you can take this vision board to multiple levels. So for example, this is a very early vision board which I made. So I've gone
add in Photoshop. I had put even the body I wanted, the places I want to go. And there are small notes. For example, the dream house, it says that my daughter's wedding is going to be here. It had specific holidays. And it's interesting that a lot of it starts to come true without you realizing it. So there was a house I put up on the left, and this is the house I stay in now, the one on the left there. And the project was still being planned at that time. And a lot of these, the app which is there, I wanted to be a paid speaker, so that's happened. So just one example I want to give that, the vision board is what made me lose weight. So that's me earlier. I mean, if you have seen the before after, that's me with my daughter, and that's me now with my daughter. So it's, and this one which I showed you, it's, the thing is framed and it's kept in the bathroom where I brush my teeth. So I look at it every single day. If I don't look also, it's in my peripheral vision and it's subconsciously constantly acting up. And since a lot of it already started happening, I've now created a new one, which is a little more using Vastu and stuff. And all these 9 zones, which is the same thing which you did on the balance. The earlier one was a little more, if you see, to do with money and finance. I've toned that down now. It's got places to travel. There are smaller notes which says exactly when, where, which year, which month I will holiday. And there are sub vision boards for each of these. So there's a holiday one separately. And if you see there, even the check there is Photoshop with the amount of my net worth in certain time, the app, the book I'm going to write, the kind of team which is there, the behavior patterns for the kids. And then it goes further. There is a specific product I'm working on. So even for that vision board, I'm on Oprah Winfrey, doing the interview, Fast Company cover, products, the download, what the ranking is worldwide for it. So you can Photoshop it in. Since we are designers, we can have fun. And this needs to be framed. So if you see, there's even a metal etching at the bottom which says which year. So it's 2025, and it's got my name on it. So you can detail this out, get it framed, put it up in a place you can see it. It really helps. I mean, if nothing else, it is a fun thing to look at. And this is a separate thing for the business. So you can do multiple frames, holiday. The dream home we actually did, I sat with my wife Shizna and we made a long back before we built the house. And then we worked backward for that dream to happen. How much should we save? For this garden, how much should we save? So we broke it down, went down to, okay, monthly, how much should we put away? So it's not just the vision board, it's then breaking it down. And if you see the vision board of the house and you see the interiors, it's almost exactly the interior designer we wanted to work on it. So it had gone down to that kind of detail. That's one cheat code, is to make a vision board. Second thing is time planning. That how do you maximize your day? That how do you do enough in the day and get out of it? So one, again, as usual, I read as many books about maximizing time, did as many exercises, got coaches for that. And the cheat code for it is something called 16x. How do you do 16 times you can do in the day? And there's one exercise called Eat That Frog, which is that thing which you hate to do that first in the morning. So it's called Eat That Frog. There's a guy called Brian Tracy who says, and we usually push the things we don't want to do. It's usually something important, something we don't like doing. So first thing in the morning is to finish off Eat the Frog. And then I made a time planner. I'll just show you the detail. It's actually created for designers. And I'll send you a PDF for whoever wants it. So it breaks down the thing into, you plan this the night before. One. Second is, at the end of the day, you put a score for how productive it was. So I break down the thing into revenue generating and revenue impacting. So revenue generating stuff is when you're doing it, it's helping the billing for the company. So if I'm negotiating with a client, it's generating revenue. If I am sort of going and meeting ex-clients to close it, revenue generating. Revenue impacting is when I'm speaking to an SEO guy to help my business grow. So I'm doing a revenue impacting. It's going to impact my business in the future. I'm talking to someone to open a business somewhere, revenue impacting. So if you plan your bulk of your day, if you're a business owner in these two, your whatever else you are delegating, hiring, if you don't like accounts, you don't like content, there are some things which you're good at, but it's not revenue generating, revenue impacting. You either find somebody for it, or if you're designing a high value project, it is revenue generating. So you've also got to look within that design, are there components? It's like a chef. Can somebody chop the vegetables? Can somebody grill the chicken and give it to you? So I realized for me, if I take out everything, when a client walks in, SME client, that interaction which I have with him, in that 10 minutes, I know what his gap or his differentiation piece is. And I found the clients pay maximum for that. It's not the design. I realized that my revenue generation happens in that conversation. It's like a consultancy. So I geared my everything around me so I can spend maximum time coaching the client on his business strategy aspect of it. So similarly, when you go down, then you have projects. So some things are projects, that are urgent projects. So some of your design things are actually projects. And there's a list of things you can delegate. And there should every day be a bunch of people you contact with randomly. So I put down a list of people I'm going to call. Old clients, friends I've not been in touch with. It's just somebody I'm going to connect who's not on my list. There is one place which is kept for stuff which may just come up, unplanned stuff. And there is another thing for, if I have time today, I'm going to do this. I'm going to rework the social media strategy. I'm going to create a publication for myself. I'm going to do something. Then there are other projects which are not urgent. So I might have time, I want to finish that off. And then there is at the bottom, personal stuff I want to accomplish. We tend to do this and waste time. So that's there. I may have to go to the bank. If I can't do online, I'll keep it right at the bottom. I've got to do it. If it's important only, I'll do it. So that's a simple time plan which I have again created based on how you can do. And you can actually get it to a point where you only need to work 2 to 3 hours in a day. And there are again cheat codes for how people can report to you. And you can get there's again a document for these reports. If I get, I only need to spend 10 minutes in the day and I can do everything else. So you can pursue other things. So it's about how do you constantly reduce the time and get the maximum impact or ROI for the day. Then the third principle for me, which has helped, which I think again for designers is a big thing. And with some of you I've spoken, I think with Priti I've spoken and shared the article, is the principle of also and. When we are young, we are taught to choose. Are you creative? Are you a business person? Are you a workaholic? Are you a family person? Are you an extrovert? Are you an introvert? Do you like money? Are you corrupt? So these are all choices we take. So the principle of also and relieve me saying that I don't want to choose. I don't want either or. I want also and. I want to be a family man and I want to be a workaholic. I want to be a great dad and be there for all the PTA meetings, and I want to be there for every office thing which is there. I want to be an extrovert and I want to have my alone time. I want to be an artist and I want to wear a suit. I want to be a sports guy and I want to be able to be lazy. I want to do nothing on Friday and I want to be active. So you don't have to choose. It just says that usually we put ourselves in pockets. So this is a very simple principle which has helped me that I don't want to choose. I want to be all this. I want to be able to go on boys trips and I want to be able to go on family trips. No, I want to be able to be a crazy guy with my friends and I want to be able to be so the idea is not to have to choose. So this is a principle which has really helped me. And you don't feel bad if you make money. You don't feel that you have to do bad work to make money, or you don't feel you have to be corrupt. You can be completely honest, have the highest integrity and have $1 billion. So it's just a principle which is I don't want to choose. I'm going to be greedy. The next thing is mindset, that everything is going to be a problem. So the Kilimanjaro thing comes in my head that I've got a mountain and I'm going to reach there somehow. This is a reason the universe is conspiring and shit is happening for a reason. There's something to learn from this. Corona is a time, I think there's so much time we've got to pivot, to look at what is really required, is to think about what we enjoy doing. All this is happening because of Corona. I mean, I've connected back with so many friends. These lessons, I mean, just these master classes or even people sharing their work, I've completely changed the way I design because of the last few main gate darbars. So I think it's all happened because of COVID, and I'm so thankful for that. So for me, a big cheat code was that everything is glass half full. Everything happens for a reason. So it's about what am I going to learn from this? If there's something going wrong, this too shall pass. So I think it's just about mindset, and there's always a formula to change out of it. So I've got this thing called affirmation. So on YouTube, we get these things called affirmations. I play it in the car. I play it before I go to sleep. And that's what works for me. The other big thing which has helped me is something called a mastermind, which I want to share with you guys. And as many of you should get into this. And I want to explain the principle very quickly. So there was this guy called Andrew Carnegie. Probably if he were here now, his net worth would be in trillions. We bumped into this guy called Napoleon Hill, young guy. We were very fascinated. He told him that I want you to dedicate your life to understand the principles of money. How do some people not have it? Your job is just to meet as many, and he got access to Thomas Alva Edison, Henry Ford. He met every single person, and he found out one of the key principles for success is something called a mastermind. A mastermind, and one of the early masterminds, a picture here is Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Harvey Firestone, Wrigley. These are all the biggest guys. They would meet once in 2 weeks outside somewhere and discuss and help each other find out. You basically get 10 different perspectives. So when you're in business, you want to act like a mentor, or you're in management. You want one place to say, I have no clue what to do, and you get 5, 6 different perspectives, which become your mastermind with complete trust. And so I'm part of a mastermind, and the principle, which again I've tried masterminds for the last 10 years, the simplest principle is it should be 5 to 8 people. Ideally, to meet once every 2 weeks, and you meet in different offices or you meet in a cafe. You first start 2 minutes, everybody shares their victories for the last 2 weeks, and then they share their challenges for the last 2 weeks. So it's quickly done with no judgment discussion, and the trust starts to build up. And there is something called a level 5 secrecy, which is whatever is said in the mastermind stays there. Level 1 means everything is there. Level 2 means you can discuss it amongst yourself. Level 3 means you can talk back to me. Level 4 means I'm sharing it here. Only one of you one can talk to me. Level 5 means what I'm saying now, I'm not going to bring that. I'm going to say it, blurt it out, and I don't want anyone to talk to me back about it. So we've got instances. I know a mastermind where somebody passed away in Africa, and the mastermind ran the business for the family for 2 years, stabilized it because they knew maximum of the business and gave it back to the family. In our mastermind, again under secrecy, there was one person whose wife left him with the kids and ran away with a lot of money. It is a dark issue. So we came together, we got him business. Some of our spouses helped out with the kids, and we put him back on track in 6 months. So it becomes a really powerful thing. Everything I owe a lot to the mastermind. You can ask doubts on finance, exit, loans, employee issues. So one thing I'd say is, even amongst us, you can just reach out and try this. I can help structure some of these masterminds. So this is one I would say. I'll end with this quote, which is, stop being afraid of what could go wrong, start getting excited about what could go right. So on that note, thank you guys. Any questions?
Thanks, Sajith. It's really good. It's really, very, very